The old Morant courthouse is found in the parish of St. Thomas at A4 Church Street. It is the most important building in the Highlands history as it is known to be the site of the 1865 Morant Bay Rebellion. At that time, the Jamaicans were protesting injustice and widespread poverty. Most freedmen were prevented from voting by high poll taxes, and their living conditions were worsened due to floods destroying their crops, cholera and smallpox epidemic, and a long drought. On 7th of October 1865, a black man was put on trial in the Morant Bay courthouse, charged with trespassing on a long abundant sugar plantation. The poor black Jamaicans of the parish were angered by this additional example of land inequality and marched onto the courthouse under the leadership of Paul Bogle. Although the march was peaceful, the proceedings were disrupted when James Geoghegan, a black spectator, angrily denounced the charges. In the police attempts to seize him and remove him from the courthouse, a fight broke out between the police and the other spectators. While pursuing Geoghegan, two policemen were beaten with sticks and stones thrown from the crowd. The trial continued, and Geoghegan was convicted and imprisoned. The following Monday, the court issued arrest warrants for several men for rioting, resisting arrest, and assaulting the police. Among those warrants was issued directing the arrest for Paul Bogle. The police were unable to arrest Paul Bogle because of the interference by his followers. A few days later, on the 11th of October, Bogle, this time with hundreds of Jamaican peasant laborers, again marched to the Morant Bay courthouse. The marchers had taken oaths to cleave to the black and leave the white, a sign that they were preparing for insurrection. Or so God Human argues, indicating that the oath taken in African tradition was a way to bring the group together and prepare for war. When the group arrived at the courthouse in Morant Bay, they were met by local officials and a small and inexperienced volunteer militia from the personnel from the plantation. The crowd began pelting militia with rocks and sticks, and the militia opened fire on the protesters. This angered the crowd, who reacted violently, burning the courthouse and nearby buildings. More than 25 people were killed on both sides before the militia retreated. Air declared martial law in the area, ordering its troops to hunt down the rebels. They killed many innocent black individuals, including women and children, with an initial death toll of more than 400. Troops arrested more than 300 persons, including Bogle. Many of these were also innocent, but were quickly tried and executed under martial law. Both men and women were punished by whipping and long sentences. This was the most severe suppression of unrest in the history of the British West Indies. The governor had George William Gordon, a mixed-race representative of the parish in the House of Assembly, arrested in Kingston and brought back to Morant Bay, where he tried the politician under the martial law. Gordon was quickly convicted and executed. In Great Britain, Eyre's response to the rebellion is viewed as extreme by many. Opposite to this stance, others would rest the blame on the black peasants. A committee was established to bring in Governor Eyre for his actions of mass murder. One of the well-known names on this side was Charles Darwin. A rival committee was set up which had the likes of Charles Dickens. Eyre was charged twice for murder. He never had to stand trial. In 1969, Paul Bogle and George William Gordon were declared national heroes of Jamaica. In the early morning of February 19, 2007, the restored building of the Morant Bay courthouse was razed, apparently from fire started by vagrants. Paul Bogle's statue was severely destroyed, and after much controversy, it was removed for repairs. However, the fuss over the courthouse and the statue has been going on ever since. Citizens of the parish have been calling for its restoration and the remounting of the statue, which itself is mired in controversy. Some people claim it is not Paul Bogle's likeness in which it was created, but that of a man named Bejon, also from Stony Gut. The intensity of the controversy is expected to be abated or increased soon, as the Jamaica National Heritage Trust, with assistance from the Tourism Enhancement Fund, is to restore the building and remount the repaired statue. The Ballad of 65 by Alma Norman, a poem about Paul Bogle and the Morant Bay Rebellion. The roads are rocky and the hills are steep. The maca stretches and the gullies deep. The town is far, news travel slow, and the mountain men have far to go. Bogle took his cutlass at Stony Gut and looked at the small heap of food he had got. And he shook his head, and his thoughts were sad. You can walk like a mule, but the crop's still bad. Bogle got his men, and he led them down over the hills to Spanish Town. They chopped their way, and they made a track to the governor's house, but he sent them back. As they trod back home to Stony Gut, Paul Bogle's spirit sank with each bush he cut, for the thought of the hungry St. Thomas men who were waiting for the message he had to bring to them. They couldn't believe that he would fail, and their anger rose when they heard his tale. Then they told Paul Bogle of Morant Bay and the poor man found there yesterday. Then Bogle thundered, This thing is wrong. They think we're weak, but we St. Thomas men are strong. Rouse up yourself. We'll march all night to the vestry house and we'll claim our right. The Monday morning was tropic clear as the men from Stony Gut drew near, clenching their sticks in their farmers' hand to claim their rights in their native land. How many mourned and many were dead that day when the vestry flames rose red. There was chopping and shooting, and when it done, Paul Bogle and the men knew they had to run. They ran from the bush where they hoped to hide, but the soldiers poured in from Kingston side. They took their prisoners to Morant Bay, where they hanged them high in the early day. Paul Bogle died, but his spirit talks anywhere in Jamaica that freedom walks, where brave men gather and courage thrills, as it did in those days in St. Thomas Hills.